CargoWise Landside is deeply committed to revolutionizing landside logistics. With a complete enterprise system built for modern trucking and container drayage operators that includes proven drayage transportation management, digital rate and quote management, real-time container track and tracing, and on-demand truck, trailer, and container storage. Excellence in container drayage starts with the right software. Enhance transportation management, optimize shipment execution, and improve intermodal business operations with Trinium TMS, Draymaster, GeoStamp Track, and SecureSpace. To learn more, please visit cargowise.com/landside.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of TPM Today. I am Eric Johnson. When I'm not with you on the second and fourth Friday of every month, I'm the Senior Technology Editor at the Journal of Commerce. Today, I am joining you live from a hotel room in beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana. I have a view of the Mississippi River outside my hotel room. I just literally saw a container ship go by, so this is like a perfect little morning in terms of talking about global trade, container shipping, and all the other things we'd love to talk about on this show. I have a great guest today. Could not be more timely, although I feel like the way things are going right now, it's time. Every guest is sort of swept up in something or other with the trade chaos going on. I calculated, I think we're on day 80 of the trade chaos situation. As it relates to tariffs, which we will definitely get into, not just with my guest, but in a second when I talk about news of the week, because what else can we talk about? Break Bulk, I'm actually live in New Orleans because I'm at our Break Bulk event, the Journal of Commerce's Break Bulk and Project Cargo event. After my show, I'm literally going on stage to talk about what else, tariffs. So conference has been amazing, huge amount of optimism, actually. Like yesterday was the first day of the event, and it was weird. There was actually a little bit of optimism about, what may happen in the second half of the year once we kind of get past whatever uncertainty there is in the first half. So it was nice. That was sort of the first day of optimism that I had felt definitely since before TPM. So that was encouraging to hear, and hopefully it continues into day two. One thing I'll mention is we are now, after Break Bulk ends today, we're on the clock at the Journal of Commerce on Inland 25, which is at the end of September in beautiful downtown Chicago. You should be there. It's going to be an amazing event. I will be leading a whole bunch of different sessions, including a really cool set of sessions around technology that is primarily impacting the freight brokerage space and how that rebounds on both carriers and shippers. So please join us. It's easy to register. You're not going to get a cheaper rate. I think early bird rates expire in about a month. So take advantage of the best rates you'll get on that conference for the rest of the year. All right. Really quickly, news of the week. There's nothing else to talk about right now except for tariffs and fees. And we actually just earlier this week, my colleague Bill Cassidy wrote a really interesting story about how and this has been pretty widely reported, but of course we have a lot of insight into how shippers and their service providers are thinking. So this was really drilling deep into how the uncertainty around tariffs, what level they will be set at eventually, whether they will be at these, sort of elevated levels, whether trade deals will be made, how that's impacting sort of a pause in activity. And that's something we're hearing at Break Bulk as well today. A lot of the project shippers and a lot of the forwarders that cater to them are saying right now everyone is in a wait and see mode, and that may generate a lot of pent up demand in the second half of the year or Q4. But right now, and we've all seen this, tons of container bookings canceled, which we will get into in just a second with my guest. Tons of orders on pause. A lot of stuff that's already been made, sort of being stored at origin or being brought over here and then held in bond, so it doesn't have to clear, and tariffs are you can sort of hedge your risk on that. So everybody is sort of searching for whatever solution they can to navigate this. The other thing that I'll mention, I put a post on LinkedIn yesterday that's gotten a ton of attention. Obviously, it struck a nerve. Was most small to mid-sized importers and exporters are not really set up bandwidth-wise to handle continuous and constant reanalysis of what the best way to move their goods is on a daily basis. They usually want to have some sort of certainty, some sort of set of plans. And yes, things always happen, but those are the anomalies. No one's set up to deal with every single shipment having to be scrutinized and analyzed, and contingency plans around all of that. So that's sort of in the background, and I'm not really sure how aware most people setting policy are around that. In any case, I'm delighted to bring a longtime friend of mine, an awesome person who's in a often overlooked part of our industry. I've been writing about this space for 20 some odd years, and it's clearly a part of the industry that does not get as much attention as it deserves. Ian Weiland, who is Chief Operating Officer at Junction Collaborative Transports, a drayage provider in Southern California. Ian, so glad you could join us in this time. You got to be really busy these days.
Yeah. Good morning, Eric. Yeah, no, I love these. I feel a lot of times people in the drayage world, it's not that they're not good at their job, but they don't know how to speak to the other party. So if I'm talking to you, or if I'm talking to a customer or the audience, a lot of times they don't know how to convey it so that the customer understands like what it is they're going through. But then again, a lot of times drayage is looked at as a cost. So it's a cost bucket where it's not necessarily a profit center, which CFOs love to
That's what they care about,
sift
right?
through, for sure.
Well, I've always thought of it, if you look at all the different legs in moving a shipment from origin to destination, drayage often tends to be the shortest. It tends to be one of the lower cost ones, parts of the entire chain. Not always, but sometimes. And so, to me, it's always been a function of the thing that takes up the least amount of attention, and the least amount of time and the least amount of cost is going to get the least amount of attention.
For sure.
So that's the natural thing. But I do also think after the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, coming into now our latest supply chain crisis, people are understanding how important having a solid drayage partner or a solid network of drayage is. So
For sure.
Okay, we're jumping ahead here. What's your background before JCT? What did you do?
I grew up in Maryland. I mean, obviously I'm in Long Beach, California now, but I grew up in Maryland. I've been out here for 15 years. My background was cold calling. I had the ability to talk to people on the phone. If you have spoken to another trucker, of which I know you've spoken to many of them, I would say probably 90%, and 90% are unable to have at least at minimum a conversation with someone, let alone be able to articulate what it is they're doing. That said, if you can do that, you win, and or you have a door open for you in this industry, and that's all I knew. And I actually met the gentleman Julio, who owns JCT. He needed someone like me. I needed someone like him, and we met each other at the same time, and we started. I met him. He had 6 trucks, and we're about 350 today. So
you can take all the credit for that.
I try,
right? Like that was the point at which you do, right? I mean, it's pretty clear to me. The math is very simple. So
he's on an airplane right now, so he won't hear this. So yeah, 100%.
We'll throw away the on-demand version. So never. All right, just we've alluded to it, but just to put a finer point on it, what is JCT? Who do you serve? How big is the fleet? What's the geographical area that you guys?
We're an LA-based dray carrier. Port numbers, we're top 5 as far as volume across both ports.
Okay.
What does that mean? We have a lot of trucks. And we know how to service customers. My customer base, we've got to give or take 250, 300 customers, from your 1 a week, 1 a month type shipment to your 1,000 containers a month, a couple hundred a week. It depends.
Yeah.
We service the entire gauntlet. There's not a whole lot I say no to. Being able to say yes to a lot of people has gotten us to where we are today as far as size. Over the last 2 years, we've opened up a Chicago office and do have assets in Chicago, 25 as of today. Not a super large fleet, but
Got to start somewhere.
We hit the ground running. We didn't purchase someone. We didn't want to make that investment where we took it amongst ourselves and grew it slowly and not basically got our, put ourselves in the financial trouble. And I can tell you, like right now, a lot of trucking companies are sitting in financial trouble, whether they say it or not. But if you look behind the curtain, there's a lot of debt that's owed across the board, be it chassis, land, bad purchases, trucks, EVs. The list goes on.
It's a capital intensive business, right? I mean, I should say, assets. That's the joy of being asset free is that, you need a computer and a phone, but there's value in having assets, but it's not a cost-free value. So
for sure.
Okay. What else are we going to start the conversation with? I think everybody who's probably tuning in right now is well aware of what has gone on over the past couple months in terms of tariff policy and how that's impacting our market. We've also, probably most people are aware that container bookings have started to go nosedive, and that could potentially turn into a volume situation, especially into the U.S. West Coast. What are you seeing? And I'll ask that from a couple different perspectives. Are you seeing the same thing? Are you seeing a little different version of maybe what's been sort of reported by us or by mainstream outlets? And then how are you sort of keeping track of where things are? Are you relying on kind of like what your customers are telling you? Are you looking at any public data sets to sort of guide where things are going? That was like 5 questions in one. So
No.
Start where you want.
Okay. So as an overall, volumes are up today. Today, volumes for containers that are pulling, volumes are up. I'm up probably total, like as a volume play, we'll be at our highest. I'm gonna hit a record this month.
Okay.
For LA Long Beach.
And is that because of the pull forward to beat some of the the departure dates on when the tariffs went into effect?
My boss isn't watching this right now. No, it's because of my sales.
And I see. Sorry. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
No, I think it's some. We got some pull forward. I've added some new bill twos. I've taken on some larger accounts here of recent where it's kind of maintaining, but I hear what everyone else is hearing. It's funny that I haven't heard it yet from a customer saying, yes, we have not ordered, as weird as that may sound, but I see everything in the media outlets and data coming from the terminals and the ports that stating stuff's going to tank. Volumes are tanking, but not a customer calling and saying, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is the route we're going to go, et cetera, et cetera. My take really is it's not that they're doing it on purpose. It's more so, like you said, these many companies don't have like a 30-person logistics department to manage all of the communication points that need to go on. They don't.
Right.
It's like 1 or 2 people in the department, and they're just running, flying at the seat of their pants. Because my whole thing is, I'm an ops guy, and I'm way into planning. And because of you can't plan right now. That's the whole kicker for everyone.
Right.
They're unable to plan. So if they can plan, I think if everyone was able to plan, they would be able to give a direction and basically explain to everyone else what it is they're going to do, so that everyone else after them, meaning Origin and everyone after, I'm like 3 or 4 after, it's able to set a plan. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Where Asia to here, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on like whatever it is. The way the government's going right now, it seems to change their answers change by the day, where you book a shipment today, it may change 5 or 6 times by the time it hits here.
Okay, so a couple things. Interesting that your customer base, you're not seeing sort of like what the macro kind of outlook seems to be, because a lot of the like data providers are saying this is what we're seeing, this is what we're seeing. Now, if I speak to 10 shippers individually, obviously they're not going to map completely against what like the aggregate data is saying. So one shipper is saying, we're pausing everything right now. We have inventory for what we need. We're just going to sit this out until things calm down for 2-3 weeks. Others are like, now we have to move. Even if the tariffs are higher today or lower tomorrow, we are make to order. We don't have a lot of inventory. We've got to keep shelves going, or we have a customer that we need to satisfy. And it may be no orders are paused or 5-10%, right? So I think the message that I'm trying to get that you hammered home is like every little group of customers has their own characteristics. And sometimes like it may be that your type of customers are self-selecting, right? Like they're not needing to pause dramatically like another set might. There might be another drayage provider where they're like, everybody is pausing for me right now. So
100, I don't think it's gotten to that point far down enough down like the totem pole to hit us yet. That's what I think. I don't think they're not doing it. I just don't think, like, if I get a delivery order as a dray trucker, I may get a delivery order if the container's already in the terminal and already released from the vessel, or my solid guys that I work with on a consistent basis, and this is more of typically the sizable accounts, but I'll get something 2 weeks ahead of time knowing that it's coming. Yeah. So for me, anywhere from 2 weeks to already available is exactly, that's my window of time. So I just don't think it's far enough up. I know it's coming, whether hear it from a customer or not, I know it's coming. I just don't know the exact impact yet.
So we've had Gene Soroka, I think, at the Port of LA, executive director of Port of LA, said a couple of weeks ago he's expecting a 10% drop off in volume in the second half. Mario Cordero, his counterpart at Port of Long Beach, said this week 20%. He's expecting a 20% drop off. Part of the more dramatic at Long Beach might be a result of certain carriers that call that port that might be more impacted by certain policy decisions versus LA, but that's neither here nor there. These are just forecast projections, right? And as you said, everything can change. How are you as a business sort of preparing for that thing that you just mentioned, that like, it's coming, you're not seeing it yet? How do you sort of prepare for that?
I've done two things. One is I'm shedding assets in the sense of long-term land leases. Okay. Basically, cutting costs. If I can't make it on the top end, how can I save it on the bottom end? Is essentially. I've done that a little bit here over the last 60 days, which is basically setting us up, coming in very thin as far as basically how we need to operate. Yep. Likewise, we do run a lot of employees trucks, meaning right now we've got 115 tractors that we run employees, which across 2 shifts, give or takes 180 trucks, 180 drivers. That said, I don't care, as a trucking operator, not a broker, not anything along those lines, but as a trucking operator, it is cheaper to run an employee versus an owner op in the long game. Maybe load by load, you may win $5, $10, $100 here or there. Yeah. But in the long term of things, employees are cheaper. I don't care what anyone says. It ends up being cheaper so long as you have the loads. Don't get me wrong, you got to have the loads, but sure, it will end up being cheaper in the long run. Where if you set yourself up for X, Y, and Z. Now, again, I don't know how detrimental it's going to be, but we're set up to handle it in that sense. Historically, what was LA, Long Beach prior to like something AB5 was owner op, where if you have owner ops, you don't really have overhead. You go into any other market, there's no real overhead for the truck. So if you don't have any loads today, you're not really paying anyone.
Yeah.
Where from an employee model standpoint, you've got them on the books. You got to, there is a minimum cost you have per day,
whether there's volume or not.
Exactly. So it's, but at the end of the day, if let's say between me, trucking company A, and trucking company B, I'm running employees, like not to say that I am going to be the cheapest, or it's like, but basically it's more so I can withstand some punches to the gut where some others may not be able to.
What do you think? So if I know you can really like only talk about your own company, but I'm asking you to sort of wear the hat of like a part of the drayage community in Southern California.
Sure.
We had obviously been hearing over the last year that the good times from the pandemic and the money that was created for virtually every service provider was starting to, be drained. And it was once again, as it generally is, tough to operate as a drayage operator in this market. So if you couple that with what's going to potentially happen over the next couple months, I mean, like if this drags on, through the summer and we're in a recession and like consumer spending goes down and all that, this like sort of cataclysmic stuff, like how does the drayage community sort of like stay intact, or does it?
So you want to get dirty. Okay. I love this. It's the pandemic. I don't care what anyone else says, but the pandemic money is gone.
Okay.
It's gone.
All right. Yeah.
Where it's hopes and dreams right now. I really think that you may not see it on social media. You may not read it online. Again, you open the curtain and you see what's going on. Peel back the onion. A lot of guys are hurting right now, and they are bleeding.
And that's before we've really even seen that.
Let's rewind back to January before the tariffs were even started or mentioned. It's been happening, and I'm telling you, it's on these long-term asset plays that it's not necessarily they were bought too expensive, but it's not necessarily that, but it's basically a lot of companies are over leveraged. They won't tell you that, but they are, and it has to do. You look at the EVs here in California. What a great idea! Let's go EV. Let's do all of these, and let me reset my whole entire fleet. And then California does a federal type program and says, just kidding. You don't have to do that now. Let's put it on pause. Right. Again, that
not that there was the infrastructure to support it anyway. So yeah.
Right. But the planning period that, that was necessary for that, the hoops that were jumped through, it's just, wait, what how am I recouping this $5-10 million? Where am I getting that from? I'm going to charge it to the customer. Oh, you got the federal government tariffs coming in. Where am I getting this money from?
Right.
And I think the entire shipping industry as a whole is just basically has gone through a punching bag session.
We haven't even mentioned the USTR 301 ship fee thing and how that may impact. That's been a big source of discussion at the conference we've been at. I've been at the last couple of days. And like, honestly, we don't even have time to go into that. Not that necessarily LA and Long Beach were the ones that would have gotten the brunt of that, because they were going to be a call regardless of how much that fee is. You can't not serve those two ports. But it's still, that's another cost that needs to be absorbed somewhere in the chain. And it's been said that that the shippers are going to be the ones to absorb that. But as we know, drayage providers are often the sponge for everybody else's pain. It's at the end of the day. Sure. So So punching back.
In our industry, if you have a partnership, if I have a partnership with someone, I'm okay to absorb something here and there. I'm again, if I'm winning at 8 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, I'm winning. I get it because we're going to talk again in 5, 6 months, 12 months. Yeah. But if we're not on a partnership basis and you're just take, that's where it's like, oh, let's rethink this.
Yeah.
And because if there's too much of that, it gets tiresome. It really does.
Yep. All right. This always goes too fast. I have too many things to talk about with virtually every guest, but obviously you right now we could go on for hours, but unfortunately we can't. Tech. That's the thing that I focus on the most. I've seen you at we bumped into each other at Manifest earlier this year, which was like obviously all about tech. I know this is something that you care about. How do you think, like, from a drayage operator perspective, you've written a lot of interesting LinkedIn posts about little granular things that are broken for a drayage operator interacting with the terminal, interacting with various other entities. Like how to make this whole like sort of web of technology better so that you can operate like more efficiently and serve your customer better.
I am in the middle of this right now. I am currently on my end hiding behind the scenes. I'm trying to, where basically, like everyone says, I'm working on the business while stuff is slow versus for the business. So I'm kind of hiding right now. I really am. I've had an out of office message up on my emails. Trying to hide.
You're like inside the computer on the motherboard.
Yeah,
like Tron.
But it's exactly what I'm doing right now. What from an operator standpoint, I like to go at it like this. What is problem number 1? What's problem number 2? Problem number 3? And I rank them by time. What is and that's how I'm ranking them, and that's how I'm tackling my problems. I'm on problem 1 right now because so many people approach, like, for instance, at a trade conference, so many people will approach you and, their tech is good for, this, no offense to them, but this piece. Well, this piece of the puzzle to me translates to problem number 25. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not really on my list of problems to fix right now. I don't have that much bandwidth. Where I'm tackling the customer facing side is where I'm at right now. For our side, for tech, that meaning any communication coming out from the trucker to the customer, basically what they see, EDI, API, reporting, tracking, tracing, those type milestone updates is where I'm at in my process right now.
In another world, we would have our whole conversation would have just been dedicated to tech, because we could obviously talk about that for 25 minutes too. But we're not allowed to, because of the tariffs, we're not allowed to talk about tech as much as I would like. I think one interesting thing, this came up in a session yesterday, and it relates exactly to what you said, is a lot of people focus on quote unquote pain points when pain points are actually not the biggest drain of time or resources. Sometimes this is what I've heard a lot from various parties that talk to me about like how to prioritize things, is focus on the things that absorb the most amount of time or FTEs at your business, even if those don't seem to be pain points, because that's where if you apply tech, you're going to get a ton of benefits straight away. The pain points are often the things that are not that don't really occupy that much time. They seem to occupy a lot of time, but they're not that much time. So, last question, and I ask this of every guest, so you got to answer, and you have to tell me why. Who's your favorite band or musician, and what's the backstory behind it?
Dave Matthews Band. I am a huge
from the Mid-Atlantic, Virginia.
They're from Virginia. Yeah, they are.
I live in Alexandria now, so we swap places. I grew up in LA, and now I live in Virginia.
Yep, and I lived in Maryland, lived in DC for a little bit, and then moved out here. But yeah, no, I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan. They would every summer they would come to Merriweather, and that was or Hershey Park Arena, and I would go to the shows. Now, why am I into them still? Is because at the time, as my mom got into them, and my mom likes them. So if I have the opportunity to, my parents are getting older. If I have the opportunity to attend a concert with them while they're here, or I can make it work while visiting them, that's why I do it. And
that's awesome.
It brings me back to when I was that old. And
so great
that's
answer.
Truthful answer.
Awesome. And you're first one to say DMB. So we'll add it to the playlist, the TPM Today playlist. Ian,
awesome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you making time today, especially on a bit short notice. So Ian was gracious enough to be a fill-in guest for me because our previous guest had a conflict, couldn't get out of. So anyway, it was great. I've been meaning to have you on the show forever, so that this worked out great. And thank you so much. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Follow me on LinkedIn at Ian Weiland. You can find me at the Container Daddy, or send me an email to rates@jctransports.com. Rates with an S, transports with an S. I'll take care of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. Best of luck out there. All right. I'm already over. There's too much to talk about these days. How am I supposed to fit it in 30 minutes? Dad joke of the week time. Why is there a fine line between a numerator and a denominator? Because only a fraction of people will even get the joke. I don't know. Not my best one, but it's nerdy and mathy. So thank you to Ian. Great conversation. Too much to talk about all the time. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to Sarah and the Let's Talk Supply Chain team for making this so fun and easy for me. And again, thank you to Nicole, the world's greatest show producer. I'll be back in a couple weeks with another great episode of TPM Today. In the meantime, best of luck out there, everybody. Bye.